Today is Ash Wednesday, when you and I, together with the church throughout the world, begin our 40-day season of Lent in preparation for Easter. And when you and I think of Lent, I think most people think of giving something up. And that's not a bad thing, and it can certainly be a good thing if what I'm giving up is some real vice that I should not go back to. For example, if I were just to give up, let's say, candy for Lent, and then on Easter Sunday I go back to eating candy, then I haven't really accomplished much. And that's not real progress. Now granted, just to give anything up for 40 days can be a good discipline in itself, and a good spiritual exercise in itself. But the idea of Lent is to give something up that's truly bad for us, and then not to go back to it. And that would be the real progress. The fact of the matter is, there is real sin in our lives if we look for it. Things like anger, pride, lust, greed, envy, sloth, and covetousness. Those are the real things that the Lord wants us to weed out and to give up and not go back to. So the first thing about giving something up is to give something up that really matters. And the second thing about giving something up is to know that the way to give something up is not just to grit your teeth and give something up, because that can often lead us to become discouraged and bitter. But the way to give something up is to become so enamored with whatever it is you really want that in your pursuit of it, you will give things up, but you won't even realize the price you're paying for it. If I were to use an example, if, let's say, there is a sport you really love, you might spend long hours playing the sport, practicing the sport, getting better at the sport. And you do all of that simply because you're in love with the game. And that's what it means to be enamored with something. To be enamored is to be in love with something. And you might give up all kinds of things because of your sport. You might spend less time watching TV, less time playing on the computer. You might give up all these other things, but you're so enamored of the sport you're playing that you won't even realize the price you're paying. Or if I were to use another example, I think of the extent that young people often go to be close to someone that they like. For example, a boy who likes a girl in the school might choose to get into a class that she's taking, even though he was never really interested in trigonometry. Never. He might walk a mile out of his way going home from school at night just so he can walk past her house in the hopes of maybe getting close to her. If he hears from her friends that she doesn't like boys who have certain bad habits, then he'll give up the bad habits because he doesn't want to displease her. But that's the nature of love. And the idea is that when a person becomes enamored with someone, you will give things up, and you won't even realize the price you're paying for it. Now, other people may look at you and think you're out of your mind, but you do not realize the price you're paying. Now, there are two sides to that, a good side and a bad side. The bad side of it is there are people who can do that with regards to sin. For example, you watch someone, let's say, who becomes enamored with drugs, and you look at the things they give up in pursuit of the drugs. And you watch with horror as they go into this downward spiral. And you wonder, how can they ruin their life that way? And you try to warn them, but they can't see what it's doing to them because they are so enamored of the drugs that they do not realize the price they're paying. And that's the bad side of it. But I think the good side of that is that that's the very way that saints are made. Because saints are people who become so enamored with God that they simply do not know the price that they are paying. So they will give things up that they know are displeasing to God. They'll give things up just so they can be closer to God. And the saints were so enamored with God that they made all kinds of sacrifices and thought nothing of it. That's the way to live the Christian life. It's not just to grit your teeth and give something up, but to give something up in pursuit of something much better. Better health, a better home life, a better relationship with God. So the way to do Lent is to focus on the thing you're enamored with, not the thing you're trying to give up. And then when you do give something up, you won't even realize the price you're paying.